A strong teacher, author, and orator by the name of Booker T. Washington once said, "Success is not determined by the position that one has reached in life, but by the obstacles one has overcome." On my road to becoming a teacher, I have taken the road that Booker T talked about and that Robert Frost talked about in his poem, Discuss the Road Not Taken. Unlike many of my great colleagues who have been in this Oklahoma Teacher of the Year process, who have become like my brothers and sisters who majored in fields like elementary and secondary education with a particular emphasis. They are truly extraordinary in the profession, but I don't share the same path on my road to teaching. In fact, growing up, I was that child that took longer on any test taken. I was that child who had to go to a reading program for 2 days a week for years while my friends sat, played, and relaxed. I was that student that instead of eating lunch with my friends, I had to study in the library in high school. I was determined to overcome my obstacles. I began to overcome those obstacles and see the light at the end of the tunnel by the end of my senior year, where I gladly marched into the counselor's office ready to discuss my options. And unfortunately, she sat and told me, "There are no options for you. There are no plans for you." And I'm sorry to tell you that. As you can imagine, I was broken, discouraged, and ready to throw in the towel as a young teen. However, a mentor teacher by the name of Mrs. Joe Bright, she told me, "Tracy, you don't let any person, not one person, determine your future. In fact, you go back to the drawing board. You come up with a plan of action. You take ACT test prep classes. You don't stop there. You come here to our center at the North Tulsa Boys and Girls Club and volunteer with kids to let them know what they can be." I thought Miss Bright was crazy. I said, "Mrs. Bright, it's the end. How can I move forward?" She said, "Just like this. I will show you no sympathy, but in fact, I will call you every day and tell you that you are to believe in the unbelievable." I began to think, and I looked at Miss Bright, and with her strong guidance, along with the support of my village, like my mother, my father, my grandmother, who would sit and make me read old English books or even watch every sports show only at the end to see the sports players come up, and she would make me correct every grammatical error that they had. Grandma was tough. But she, along with my church family and so many others, mentor teachers like Barbara Coleman, Loretta Coleman, Janice Bayouth, Ava Fisher, Bobby Booker, just to name a few. They told me, "You can do this." Then I finally began to see at the end, college acceptances began to come in. I even got the chance to speak at the governor's mansion, and I don't say that to brag or boast, but I say that because someone told me what I could not achieve, like they do many of our urban and rural students, but they can and will achieve. Then I left Oklahoma and I went to college and majored in English literature. Afterwards, accepting a graduate assistantship at Eastern Michigan and studying the Achievement Gap. After studying the Achievement Gap, it was then that I wanted to go home because I found in the Achievement Gap that one of the lowest districts was my hometown in Tulsa. It began to break my heart because I saw those students in me. And I said, I have to go back home. I have to go back home and teach them, to let them know they can do it. However, fear gripped me. It crippled me because I could still hear that counselor saying, "You cannot achieve. There are no options for you." I knew something had to be done. Therefore, I leaned on my spiritual faith, and I began to see that I had to allow faith to move me beyond what my fear had held me down. I wanted to teach those students the skills to get them where they needed to be. And after deciding that I could return home, my road still wasn't the traditional teacher. Upon arriving back home, I accepted a long-term substitute position where I met the Michael students of the world, those students who were 3 and 4 grade levels behind in the 6th grade. Michael came to class every day smiling, "Miss Manuel, what we're gonna do today?" As I began to grow a relationship with Michael and his family outside of the classroom, then I could address the reading foundations that this student had been long needing. After moving from the substitute teacher position, I moved forward to a teacher assistantship, where I met the Camerons of the world, those students who struggled socially because they were on the spectrum and it began impeding into their academic success. And along with Cameron and his village, we partnered together to say what he could and would do. And today, Cameron is a 3rd-year college student getting ready to become a music teacher of today. Then, that wasn't the last stop. I became a parent facilitator, and I work with parents who were of lower socioeconomic backgrounds. Those parents needed confidence and skills to begin to help their children overcome things that they did not overcome. And we worked together. And then finally, along the last stop of the way, I became a classroom English teacher, where I began to do home visits, and I began to work with children and build climate and culture within schools that had disciplinary issues. It wasn't an easy task, but it was one worth taking on this road. I went from there to our magnet schools and began teaching advanced classes, challenging those students and building programs that could help them. I tell you, being a classroom teacher, as you know, may not be the easiest, but it is worth it in the long run. This path for me has been all that has made the difference in my teaching career. I stand today full circle teaching at Booker T. Washington, the place that at the end of the road told me what I could not do. I said to my students, and I say to them every day, we will have high expectations and we will achieve every goal that is set in front of them. I will accept nothing less of you. So I tell all educators today and tomorrow that we have to push our children. And I leave you with a piece of my high school hymn. You're a symbol of light for many a youth, by pointing the way to life's best. It is important, and it is my job that I point students and unlock the bright potential that lies in all of them that many cannot see. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Traci Manuel, a sophomore advanced English teacher at the Booker T. Washington High School, and it has been my pleasure.
For more information, you can visit tulsaworld.com.